And this is where like authenticity and really good, honest relationships are important, because I can still be authentic and show up and say, I'm having a bad brain day today. I'm not sure how I'm going to come across to you, but if we're talking and I seem off, please let me know, because I want you to know it's not you. And I may not be able to tell. So that's me doing the best I can in the moment. And it's also communicating to you and honoring our relationship. I could at least let you know. And to me, letting you know it's not you and me accepting responsibility for my feelings and how I'm going to act increases our trust and increases our relationship, and also lets you know you can have bad days.
Welcome to the Mindform podcast, where we delve into the minds of some of the most interesting people on the planet, discuss psychology, philosophy, and personal growth, and share the wisdom we uncover with you. Join us as we explore the art of forming our minds. Here's your host, Frank Lawton.
Yeah, I'm spending a lot of time managing that interplay as well, especially being at a place in my life, like a lot of time changes going on at the moment. My son's started going to kindy a couple of days of the week. I'm working on this podcast and trying to, I've got all this time and I'm trying to dedicate it to, creating my future, actualizing my visions and that. And I feel like by some definition of these terms, the more I structure my time, the more unstructured my time is, or like the more unstructured time I have. And by that, I mean like when I'm able to really contain work tasks and really streamline and automate things and really, okay, this always happens on this day at this time and things like that, and really create these constraints. It means that when I'm outside of those, there's absolutely no sense of that there's something I'm meant to be doing or preparing for or responding to. And so that time can really come out in whatever way. So that helps me. And I think I'm constantly realizing that more for myself, like more and more kind of discipline is freedom in a way. Cause then it's just contained, it's out of the way. It's my experience.
So I know this is can I ask you a question?
I'll allow it.
Oh, you'll allow it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were talking about, you structure work time, but then time outside of that is unstructured. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
And in that unstructured time, are you finding that it's hard to get the things you want done?
No, because there's literally nothing to get done. Like I structure in everything that arises for me as like this needs to get done. Everything is automated. The only things that I don't, well, not automated, but it's compartmentalized.
Scheduled.
Or whatever. Yeah, scheduled. The only things that aren't are like, like keeping the house clean. But like if it's like a proper job, I'll schedule it. But I see there's but in that free time, like when I feel that free, I'm calm. So I don't know. I see stuff on the floor, I just pick it up. I go do the washing, and so it's like that stuff. I have an automatic desire to just respond to and fix up organically if I don't feel like I'm too busy to do it. Yeah. Everything. So what's left in that free time, it often ends up being somewhat productive, but it's that kind of inarticulable productivity. It's the kind of thing you can't decide in advance because you can't necessarily see in advance the value that has for you, but it's just what happens when you follow your interests, or just like even just spending time with my family. Like I structure in, okay, it's like it's me and my son Finley, is his name. It's me and Finley time, and it's just gonna be two. I even like set timers on stuff. It's like, okay, so Mum's away. It's like 2 hours. It's just me and Finn. I'm not gonna think about anything else. Yada yada. But then when I feel really relaxed and I don't have anything to do, I give Finley. I give him way more like my proper attention in a way that I'm not able to when there's a vague sense that things need to get done. And that's extremely productive. That's like one of my goals. That's like one of the things I aspire to do, but I'm not doing it because I think I should. I'm doing it because I'm calm enough to, without the prefrontal cortex making a big deal out of it, just live out my values organically, you know?
That sounds great.
Well, I mean, it's all to the degree that this all happens to the degree that I schedule, to the degree that I compartmentalize my time, which is not entirely, but I'm finding that seems to be the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your interest-led comment, because that's Martha Beck. She's a coach, and she says that she has an interest-led nervous system, or an interest-led attention span or something. I was like, me too, and most of the people that I know.
Yeah. Well, that's natural. Yeah, that's natural. I mean, I sometimes think, people often talk about the curses and the blessings of neurodivergence, and I'm always have some skepticism about that kind of language in general. But um, one thing that does seem like a blessing with ADHD is I've never mastered the skill of sustainably living against my interests and values. I'm not going to wake up someday like, oh my gosh, I've been living this whole life that I thought was meaningful to me, but it wasn't. It's like, no, if something's not meaningful to me, I know because I can't do it. So that's like one benefit.
Feels like you'll die if you have to keep doing it, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that's a good note. I'm gonna do the intro now because
Okay.
we are 8 minutes from 9, which is a bit longer than usual. That's all right. See if anyone's in the chat. Doesn't look like it, but in case you're hiding there, guys, feel free to say hello, yada yada. But yeah, looks like it's just us this time. Which was lame, but whatever. And I'll do the intro.
It'll be more intimate.
Yeah, that's right. Just pardon me while I go through this. Kia ora from New Zealand. Welcome to the Mindform podcast. My name is Frank Lawton. I'm a father, a husband, and a contemplator with a passion for ways of operating which better empower us to live wholeheartedly. The Mindform podcast is an extension of the Mindform platform and is similarly a space dedicated to exploring and altering psychological landscapes together. In each weekly episode, I'll spark a conversation to mine for gems of wisdom and collaborate on the game of architecting our minds. Most of our guests are members of the Mindform platform. We're all big nerds for psychology, philosophy, and self-improvement. This week's guest is Brandy. Hi, Brandy. Brandy is another founding member of Mindform, who I describe as our resident cheerleader. She demonstrates uncommon enthusiasm for personal development, her own and that of the rest of us on Mindform too. She's vulnerable, curious, and thorough in her thinking and communication. Like myself, Brandy has a broad diversity of interests in relation to personal growth. That does include neurodiversity, self-love, AI, habits and systems, and on, really. I'm very much looking forward to having an in-person chat with you, Brandy, and seeing where this leads. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we were just talking about kind of interest-led approaches, as in, how do we craft our time? How do we manage ourselves so that we're able to, whether spontaneously in the moment or maybe planning ahead as well, have how we spend our time come out of what's actually organically interesting to us. And I do know from seeing you on the platform a bit and your questionnaire before the podcast here that's kind of a core interest of yours, isn't it? I suppose value-led living or authentic living. Maybe how would you articulate your, the principle there that you sort of try to live by?
I think I kind of wrap it up. If I'm telling someone else about it, just high level, I talk about just values-based living and living authentically for what that means to me. Yeah, I try not to go into too much detail with like at the high level, but kind of on our level, it's just what's, a long time ago I did the end of life exercise that Franklin Covey had us do ages ago, and you write your own obituary and what do you want to be remembered for, and all those things, and how do you want to have made people feel. And so I did that, and then I've kind of been on that path since then. So I want my life to feel like me. I want it to be flowy. I want it to feel like I'm not masking, so like I'm not pretending or walking on eggshells with people. So all of that, wanting to show up in the way that I want to be remembered, that feels authentic, and then authentically doing that, all very challenging. and and complex sometimes, but I don't know, for me it's almost my mission in life is can I get to the end and be proud of what I did
Mm. Mm.
and who I was.
Yeah, and it sounds like, so for you, a lot of what a life you're proud of is, or a legacy that you're proud of is it like having been an exemplar of or known for authenticity, or a model for that, or is it slightly different to that? Because I'm just trying to understand the way that I mean, I think I agree, but I'm still trying to understand it. It's like I think it's the same for me. Like, what role does authenticity, realness have in when you look at the picture of your life? Like, what role does that have in the importance of your life story and your life legacy?
Um, I think it's going to be different depending upon how it comes out. So I don't want to have regret at the end.
Hmm.
Um, I want to feel like I was able to fully show up. And
Right.
when I'm able to fully show up and I'm in my best self, then I'm treating other people the best that I can as well. And so
Yeah.
that kind of lives into leave people better than you found them. So at the end, that's what I hope to have done is leave the world or people, in some way better. It doesn't have to be what I think is better, but maybe we
Sure.
shared a book or a thought or a moment or a smile or whatever, and that seems meaningful because I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I have a life purpose. Like, I had to make my purpose. I don't know that I have a purpose. So I'm making it. And it's
Hmm.
to become the best version of myself so that others so that I can treat them well, but also if that encourages them to find their own, that's cool too. I
Hmm.
mean, I would love that,
Yeah. So it sounds
but
like within that, there's sort of two things going on there. Like, one is to some degree like modeling authenticity, right? So it's like, if I want to show up fully, I want to be fully present, be me, and that inspires other people that that's an option for them, that they're able to do that. And then another side of that is, do you think that are you suggesting that, like, that kindness and service to others comes as part of the package of being your truest self, or showing up fully as yourself? Do you think those things are like inherently intertwined?
yeah, I think I'm going to answer your question the way I think I heard it is like service to others is a big part of how I find happiness and joy.
Mm.
And so, yes, showing up for them in ways that would be good for me and them hopefully would all work. I mean, it does
Yeah.
work. It works in my
Yeah.
it
It
works in
does.
my very close personal relationships, and it works in my coaching relationships, and so I have some indication that it does work. It's obviously not meant for everybody, but
Yeah. So those experiences that give you that confidence, that's like, oh, this, you're looking back at a moment, you're reflecting on an experience, and it's, this moment when I served this person really well, or when I was really present for this person or supporting them, was also a moment where I felt so like I was being who I meant to be, I was doing what I meant to do. And so that kind of
yeah.
filled the service and the authenticity goal in the same
Being in
moment.
flow. Yeah, if I get to show up as me and not masking in situations and good comes out of that, I feel awesome about that.
Do you think that's true for people in general? Maybe not always at the service level. I mean, that's my belief. My belief is that sort of anyone. I mean, it gets complicated when you come to people who have serious sociopathy, psychopathy, like diagnosable. But even then, I think there's just some healing that needs to be done. But my question is, do you think that that's true for anyone, that showing up, the version of showing up for them that is most authentic and most fulfilling is also the version that is serving others? Do you think that is true for everyone, or are you only really speaking to your own experience when you describe
Yeah,
that?
just in my own experience, I don't I don't know what works for other people. I know that people have inspired me when they've shown up authentically.
Hmm.
Um, Even sometimes when they show up authentically and they're authentically not nice. Um, it's I would still like I would take a doctor who wasn't very nice but who was very, very smart over a doctor who was kind of smart but like super
Right.
nice.
So
So
perhaps not
in that
every role has kindness, right? As a yeah. Say there's a potential utopia, where everyone's being their best self, and that brings out the best in the world. Maybe you need people who have a role where their best self isn't making people feel great.
well, I don't think we can. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to take it back later. Um, I personally cannot be my best self all the time, and so
Mm.
if we could all just be our best selves enough that we could help each other get through this life, that would be super helpful. You know, I'm just not always the best Brandy. I have bad brain days. I have bad mood days. I live alone for a reason. you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think who knows, right? What's ultimately possible in that context. I'm certainly I remain hopeful and attached to the possibility that one can be their best selves all the time, but on some level, on the relevant level, it doesn't really matter, right? Because all you every like regardless, the next step is to be a, a better version of yourself more of the time than you are now, right? Like if everyone instead of everyone thinking, oh, we should be there. Like if everyone's just a little bit better, that would make the world, that absolutely transforms the world if people are just a little bit better. I mean, it's that kind of classic,
Um,
good is better than perfect because you can actually get there kind of thing.
and this is where like authenticity and really good, honest relationships in my world are important because I can still be authentic and show up and say, hey, Frank, I'm having a bad brain day today. I'm not sure how I'm going to come across to you, but if we're talking and I seem off, please let me know because I want you to know it's not you and
Mm.
I may not be able to tell. So that's me doing the best I can in the moment. And it's also communicating to you and honoring our relationship. If we were like super good friends and we talked all the time and you usually saw happy Brandy, but you were going to see not joyful Brandy that day, I could at least let you know. And to me, letting you know it's not you and me accepting responsibility for my feelings and how I'm going to act, um,
Mm.
hopefully increases our trust and increases our relationship and also lets you know you can have bad days
Oh
and that I'm
yeah,
not going to leave
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, and that facing, I mean, that's that to me is the value of the good over great. Also, the good over perfect focus is, you're able when the need is to be your best self or you're perfect all the time. We're not always able to face or work with our imperfections, and then they have power over us, right? But when it's okay, well, I've got these flaws and I'm just going to deal with that. That's a reality today. Like that is what it is. I'm going to handle that. I'm okay with that. Then it's how do I work around them? How do I work with them? But then I suppose that demands the question, because it sounds to me like when you're facing having a bad day and being real with people about it is closer to perfect than not facing it. And so the question becomes then, what does it mean? What is the relationship between best self and real self? And to just expand on that question a tiny bit, I suppose I mean perhaps our best self is not that which is completely different to our real self and some idea of it that could be that is better, but it's us working most cohesively and integrally with our real self as it is whatever it is. Like it's working with what is. But yeah, do you have a thought of the interaction between best self and real self?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of that before, but as I spill water from my but first dopamine cup. I mean, like let's take coaching for example, because that's a pretty structured environment where
Mm.
I'm the kind of the I don't know I'm kind of the structurer for that, right? So me bringing my best self is that I'm in a good frame of mind. I'm I'm following the boundaries of that space. I'm creating safety for the other person, regardless of how my real self feels. And, but I'm working to stay present and to stay with them and do a lot of level 3 listening, even if my head hurts that day or I'm tired. So best self and real self. Real self is tired. Best self is like, well, I'm tired, but I still have all these tools I can use to show up for this person and be my best self for them. And they may not need much from me. They may just need me to sit there and listen. Like, okay, I can do that. Everybody needs something different.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, totally. And now, what the distinction you've drawn there, I want to dig into that a little bit. So it seems like one way that we can distinguish, I'm just trying to understand these terms, because even the term self crumbles when you dig into it too much, but let's not go all the way there yet. It seems like what you were describing is the real self is what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what's going on within you, right? It's that internal, and then your best self is what you do with that. It's what that looks like as it comes out of you, right? So there's the sort of the self as the experiencer and the self as the actor, right? And maybe those things, true self and best self, whatever, can coexist in that, regardless of what we're experiencing, if we're able to work with that, acknowledge that, love that, and be real about that, then we're being it. We're being our real self. But regardless of what we're experiencing, that doesn't constrain necessarily what we're bringing to other people, the tools we're using, the value we bring, the behaviors we do. And so maybe those things come together because actually they're talking about completely different components of what a self is.
Well, now I'm going to have to really go think about all this. I'm gonna have to really think about, because I am bringing my real self to the coaching session. I'm just not acting out of it.
Almost like, well, I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand what you mean. Did you mean that you're expressing what's going on with you, but you're not sort of, I don't know, I guess like just unconsciously reacting out those emotions? Like
so like I know I'm tired. I know if I show up to a session, like I know I'm tired, or I've had I coach a lot at work, so I'm coaching in between my day as well. And it's like
stressful.
I may have been working on a really brain intensive project, and now I'm going to connect with this person. And so I might feel distracted or overwhelmed or tired or whatever, but when I show up to them, I don't want them to feel that or to have to deal with my stuff, because our relationship is different. So like I work really hard and I have some tools that I can transition into their space with them and kind of put all my stuff in the background for a while until I get out of session.
And you find that perhaps it's just the difference of being intentional or conscious about it, but do you feel that despite containing or separating from that conversation your certain things that you're experiencing, you still are being like real, like you still get the sense that your real self or whatever that is being brought to that conversation, and there's value in that?
Yeah, because I'm not denying the way I feel. I'm not telling myself it's bad that I'm feeling that way. I'm not saying self, go away. So that's where I'm okay with all of that. I'm just intentionally changing my focus for the little bit of time.
Yeah. It reminds me of something, because we've talked a bit about neurodivergence and masking, and of course there's a lot of relevance here. But it reminds me of something. I remember seeing someone draw this distinction between masking and I'm not sure what the term they used was for the alternative, but basically, there's coming into a space and kind of automatically out of a fear of vulnerability, or that you're wrong, or that you're going to do something wrong, just trying to be what you think other people want you to be, trying to constrain what's going on with you, and then you're basically on some kind of disconnected autopilot where there's limited opportunity for you to bring out your values or connect authentically with people, right, through masking, because of whatever reason you're masking.
That's one version of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of understanding it, right? Or one version of it. And then there's a difference between that and, okay, like, I know my values, I know who I am, I love who I am, but I know that in this social context, I'm going to get what I want most out of the social context, whether that's something I want for myself or other people, by acting in this particular way, and then just consciously choosing contentedly to act in that way. Because even if that does involve constraining, like keeping some things hidden, or moving or speaking in a way that is not instinctive or automatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. Somewhere there's a difference between those two things.
Yeah.
Do you?
I,
And
I,
it's
I
yeah,
call them both masking. I call them both masking, but one feels bad and one doesn't. Um, Masking because I'm walking into a place where I don't trust people is actually very emotional, or it has a cost, right? I'm going to be
sure.
tired because I'm protecting myself. Um, Intentionally masking, meaning intentionally not showing how I'm feeling for an outcome that's good, and I know it's temporary, and I know it is serving a higher goal for me. I'm
And you're
okay with
choosing
that.
to do it. Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah,
choosing
so
to do it. So.
I call that masking as a tool, instead of masking as like an armor, which I do both. So there.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if the difference there is, and this I'd love to bring this back to, what is your real self, what is your best self, but I wonder if the difference there is masking out of fear, masking to avoid, masking to protect, as opposed to masking to create, masking out of approach,
Mm.
masking
Yeah, I love that.
out of values, and then yeah. So that do you think that language would describe the distinction for you between masking that feels good and masking that doesn't?
Yeah, I like it. I definitely have to think more on it just to make sure it fits a couple different, situations in my life, because I like to play devil's advocate with myself. Like, is that true?
Respect.
Is that
Yeah,
true?
yeah,
But yeah, I do like that. Masking to create versus masking to protect.
yeah. I mean, I always feel a bit embarrassed sharing this framework because have you seen the film Donnie Darko? You
Yeah,
know, with the
ages
rabbit.
ago.
Ages ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a good film. It's a good film. But there's this sort of side plot where the main character, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is at school, and they have this, like self-help guru guy. They're playing his videos at the school, and he puts everything on a spectrum from love to fear, and that's his thing, and that's and that has a video of him like working with this kid who used to wet his bed, and the kid's like, "I'm not afraid anymore," like, and it's just everything, whatever you're doing. Is it not doing your homework? Is it bullying someone at school? Is it studying hard? All of these things that these behavior framework schools want you to fit within. It's like, are you doing that out of love, or are you doing that out of fear? And you got to like, they give examples, and the kids go up and they mark the little X on the spectrum on the whiteboard and stuff. And
Nice.
the main character kind of gets up and has this whole rant about, you can't just, people are complicated. You can't just reduce everything to these two. I'd love to. I watched this film when I was like 14, and I didn't connect what was going on there to the larger plot, and I'd love to see, because it's a smart movie. But he has a whole rant. There's not just two emotions. This is ridiculous. You can't reduce everything. And I remember thinking at the time, yeah, of course. But I often end up coming back to that, to the thing that the fictional guru, who turned out to be like a child molester and stuff in the show, that framework, because it's like, well, just this sort of masking example is great. Like the difference, to me, there's a lot of different contexts where the same behavior, or the same context, you can come out of that with a really different set of outcomes and a really different set of feelings, based on, were you motivated by trying to avoid something, or protect yourself from something, prevent something, or maybe even destroy something that you don't like, versus were you looking towards something that's important to you, whether a value or a desired outcome or the well-being of someone else, and trying to create that. And they seem to me to be almost like, through the whole system, like different at some level, like binary different kind of operating systems, like approach versus avoid, hunt versus predator versus prey, or
Yeah, these
and
binaries. Yeah. I think
yeah,
you just
I'll
helped
come
me
back to
figure
that.
out something. I didn't, I always tell people, oh, I'm very in the gray, right? Like, I like the gray a lot, but I
Right.
don't always like the gray. I think I have a very black and white layer, and then I have a part, and then I think I have a very gray part. And it just, I'm very black and white in some things because I have to be, or I'll never figure out how to move forward. So with my
Yeah, you.
values, I'm more like relationship values in particular, I'm more black and white, like, but how I can express it can be gray.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, that's right. I mean, that's right. You don't want to be the opposite of that. You don't want to be really black and white in how you do things and how you approach outcomes, but really grey in what it is you actually are moving towards. That seems
Yeah.
that seems inferior to the setup you have. I mean, that sounds really optimum to me. I mean, ultimately, of course, you do need. I agree that whilst there's always an inherent limitation to certainty, because no facts are capture the full complexity of reality entirely or are totally relevant to every situation. Although maybe that's not true, but usually it's not. Maybe usually facts don't capture reality in that way. Lost track of my train of thought there. But what am I saying? Um, yeah, even though it's the case that facts don't track reality, you need to make assumptions to act, and you need to make assumptions to then even decide which things am I going to question, which like all of it has that baseline of assumptions. There is no ultimate objectivity, and if there is an ultimate objectivity, it's a space of non-action, and you need to decide on a belief, decide on a value to then re-enter the space of action. So um yeah,
So I'm gonna take this in a weird direction real quick because
yeah, yeah.
I think this is like super, it's super interesting, but I think it's also important. This black and white and gray and all that. Um, in relationships, like say we're super good friends, right? Um, you're going to be a certain kind of friend to me, and I'm going to put you in my relationship map somewhere, and where I put you will depend on how much I share with you and what we do together, and that is based on how much trust we've built. Like, I have a very intricate system, and it it doesn't work for everybody, but it works great for me. So if you're like a really 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 close friend, you get a lot of consideration in my life. And so I'm going to give you access to my time, and I'm going to give you much more consideration than a lot of other people. So what that means is I'm going to consider you. That's a black and white thing. Am I considering this person or not? Yes, I am. Okay. Well, I'm going to go and do this thing, and I'm not going to invite that person. How are they going to react? Am I okay with that? Does that get us closer to the kind of relationship I want us to have or maintain? And so that's the gray piece, and then I'm still also considering myself, right? So there's that self-love piece. There's also love for you, and there's respect for our relationship, but it's all still based on values.
Mm, yeah, there's that ground assumption of like, why are people important to me, and how is it that I should how what value do people have, right? Especially the people that I care about, and that's something you've got to make a decision on. You've got to make a decision on that, and um, yeah, I think we're in a similar place with some of that. Although I find that a bit inspiring what you're talking about there in terms of kind of, I guess, deciding who your people are and who aren't your people. I think a lot of us, you know, we don't we don't know who to adjust ourselves for and who not to. We're trying to please everyone. We often just, and then we might disappoint the people who are closest to us, and now, and by stretching ourselves so thin in that way as well. And I saw I don't know, like a post on Substack or something the other day that was saying like, there's this question when it comes to people or when it comes to goals or interests, and the question is it is it important to me or not? And if the answer is no, then just don't even think about it. Give zero f's. Just let it be. And just having that clarity of mind on who are my people, who are not, what are my interests, what or not, it sounds like that would really free you from the trap of reacting to everything. I mean, okay, I don't care. I don't care if I'm good at, what would be an example? Like, oh no, maybe I feel like I need to be good at everything. I don't care if I'm good at gardening or not, right? That's not one of my interests. So I'm not going to take it personally if someone tells me I'm bad at gardening. I'm not going to feel bad about it if I fail at that, whatever. One of the things I want to be good at is writing. So maybe then I'll allow things about in that context to affect me. But when you don't know, when you haven't decided what's it that I care about, it's all you're just
And also on
left on
that
the whim.
thought, if you wouldn't go to someone for advice,
I love that one.
don't go
Yeah.
to them for acceptance.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's been I remember seeing that a couple of years ago, and that's been a major thing for me. I mean, I think I'm still learning it, like in practice, but it comes up. Like I remember that sort of quotation from wherever I found it, often in my day to day life. Yeah, but it's really really
I
powerful.
give too much of myself though, so that's why I have to have these boundaries. I still give too much of myself,
Right.
but I'm getting better,
So
and it
that's like
has
a
to
protective
do.
strategy
It
in a
has
way.
to do. This is my cognitive plan for
Yeah.
this person's in your life. How much of them can you give yourself, or how much of you can you give to them, and all that.
What are some beliefs or values in general around relationships, or as maybe just values in general that you are black and white on in practice pretty much all the time? That you're okay with being black and white on?
And it's like a really super dark gray. Um, it that well, this is not a dark gray. If I'm going to have someone very very close to me, I have to be able to unmask with them. I have to, or they can't
Right,
be in that circle with me. And it's
right,
very
right.
very few people I can totally unmask with in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
life. So yeah,
right.
that's kind of an absolute for me.
So is the
I have an
principle
absolute.
there? Yes. Yeah, there you go. So the principle there is something like it's a net negative or something to give myself and my time um, to 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 people that aren't that I can't be real with. Like that's not a
Oh,
good way to spend my life. Is that the principle?
yeah, no, that's not a rule that I have. I'm I give my time and a lot of me to different people for different reasons, even if we're not close.
Right.
Um,
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. Okay.
but like if I'm going to be emotionally very very open and vulnerable with someone, and I'm going to be around them a lot, that's where I have to be able to unmask and not worry if they're gonna like freak
Hmm.
out, or I don't have to walk on eggshells because you know I'm not for everybody.
Yeah.
Most of us
I'll have another
aren't.
go. Yeah, yeah. Can I have another go articulating that? Then it's something
Yeah.
like maybe the real me deserves to be shared only with people who are okay with the real me, or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's definitely sounds like a self love motivated thing, right? Like I deserve, I deserve that. I deserve that.
I mean, how do you want to, like, I think about how do I want to feel? I want to feel flowy. I want to move from one part of my life into another part, my alone time into my hobbies, into my partner time, all of that in my own space, very flowy, which means I can't have a lot of challenges coming up. So I can't go from being alone and walking into the next room where my partner is there, and I'm afraid they're going to like rip my head off over something, or
Mm,
you
mm,
know
mm.
like if there's a problem, let's talk about it and let's do it this way. Let's decide this is our agreement on how we handle disagreement, But if I don't have those things in place, I don't feel safe enough with people to really
Mm.
be me very much.
Yeah, yeah, and I imagine that there's a cascading effect to that, right? Because your sort of main people, to me, I'm really finding and that one's main people, the people that that I spend the most time with, or that I consider the most, the quality, the content of who I am in those relational contexts spills out to who I am across my life, and what capacities I have within me I'm able to live out in general, right? Like if my base context is a place where the things that are most important to me, my highest values, whatever, are not understood or not respected or something like that, then that is a serious cap on my capacity to live those things out at all and across my whole life, right? But if your your sort of social home, your emotional home is a space where you're celebrated, you're understood, whatever, then your capacity to just know your own value, understand yourself, and step out of that core with strength and with confidence is really, really altered. I would definitely say, do you agree that I guess the conventional social assumptions really, really underrate the massive cascading significance of how who the people are that we are willing to give ourselves to relationally. That's my
I'm going to answer that, but first I'm going to say, yeah, that the way that I describe that being able to be you in relationship to another person is being able to be with them and also breathe. Like our whole being gets to take that sigh of relief that we don't have to be anything, right? And if I understood your question correctly about society, I've spent a lot of years decoupling my beliefs from what I was trained in society and from what I see in other people that I work with and I'm friends with and have dated and all that is most people that I've come in contact with don't have a lot of permission to be themselves. They are trying to be the person that their partner needs them to be or whatever. So at, at, at some level, or they can't talk to their partners about these things, or they can't share this part of them with that person. So
well, they perceive that they can't at the very least.
yeah, they feel like they can't or that they shouldn't. And so yeah, I
Right.
mean I have all kinds of friends that don't know all the parts of me, and that's totally fine because it's not that really 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 close relationship that I'm
Right.
talking about.
It's fine because you do have another place where you can bring that full self. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it kind of speaks to a little bit something we brought up earlier around, or something I said earlier around neurodiversity is like that it's far less likely, maybe it's specifically to ADHD, but it's far less likely I'm going to wake up one day and think, oh wow, I've been living against my own values my whole life, and thinking that something was important when it didn't mean anything to me, because it's really, really difficult for me to. I haven't mastered that skill of
Faking.
being something faking. Yeah, faking, or yeah, totally great. That's a good word, and that word does the trick. And just to bring it back to that context, I think a lot of people they master that skill, and they buy into that narrative, and maybe those things come together, buying into the narrative of social convention and developing the skill of aligning to social convention. That's sort of the same thing. And then you end up in a situation where your values are not able to be lived out, where you don't know yourself. But I guess the core part of that that's surprising or interesting to me is how people may even not have questioned for a really, really, really long time, that not have questioned this idea that you should hide this part of yourself. That's what's right. They haven't noticed this calling inside them of like, there's a real me that needs to be released. There's a real me that needs to be understood and express itself. There's an almost total acceptance of social narratives of what is appropriate behavior, of what is like. That's something I found really difficult as a kind of neurodiverse person, like going through high school and stuff. Is there is like there's a lot of sort of social narrative, social games that clearly, and I've read books on it now as going through psychology as a student and as an adult and stuff, they're just clearly antithetical to anyone's authenticity or anyone's real desires, and they're social conventions that demand a sacrifice of self, a sacrifice of our capacity to authentically connect, as we age and as we come into adulthood. And there were a lot of these that people were just so convinced by, and they just thought was true, and they were upset with me for not buying into these social conventions. Like, just for example, just to ground this a little bit, maybe it sounds really abstract, is like violence being good for males, like violence being cool and correct. Like, my year level wanted to start like a boxing club, like a fight club, like from that movie, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't think I'll get involved in that because I don't really like punching people, and I wouldn't like to be punched, so it's not really for me. This guy, this friend of mine, well, he wasn't really my friend, but guy in my year was just mortified. But you're a guy, so that's and that's just kind of an extreme example. He just couldn't. But seeing people buy into something that betrays their own authenticity so completely that they can't even comprehend it not being true, like how trod on is their own values by themselves, how much does that separate themselves from the life that they want to live? To do that,
their life has
it's
not allowed them
shocking
to
and
show
sad.
up at all.
Yeah. And so that to me feels like one of the blessings of neurodiversity is I never learned that skill that could really, really, really come back to bite me of faking it and completely suppressing and managing and hiding my authentic self, so to speak. Yeah.
I feel like until I got diagnosed in July of 2000, or two, when was it? July of 2020. Um, I had been trying to be someone I wasn't my whole life. I was trying to be neurotypical. I was trying to find the right program, the right planner,
Mm.
everything. I mean, and I was doing things to take care of myself, but I felt weird for doing them, right? Like I'm good at these things and I should be good at these things, but I'm not. And it's like, something's wrong with me. I need to so I just kept trying, like therapy and coaching and pills and planners and systems and schools. Like, I've tried everything, right? And then when I got diagnosed, I was like, oh crap, I'm never going to be neurotypical. That's what I've been trying to do. And that's why it's not working, because
Mm.
I need to be me, crazy, not crazy, but like chaotic and 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 discombobulated some days, and other days creative and interesting, and other days like, oh, you could do better. But so I don't know, getting diagnosed was huge for me. It changed everything, where it sounds like you kept more of yourself. I kept thinking, there was something wrong with me.
Mm. Well, I do think I've come off a bit, without bruises, I guess, out of this process, out of this experience, partly just because of like a lot of acceptance and understanding from my mom and my sisters, um,
I'm
partly
spilling water
because
on me.
I was able to, like, I mean, my ADHD is like, I wasn't wrestling dogs at school. I was just a bit, just had trouble focusing. So it was a manageable, I suppose, sort of thing. And because I was kind of like school, I was kind of bright and charming and stuff. So people, I could betray norms and not be totally despised because I ticked a few conventionally desirable or provable boxes. I think that's
Hmm.
part of how I managed to come out a bit of that.
Yeah. What you're talking
But
about sounds like primarily inattentive
I'm definitely hyperactive, but um,
You were able to control it enough.
no, not the hyperactivity. No, no, I didn't. No, I just didn't control it. I didn't control it, but um, I don't know. I was cheerful and I was like little and cute and I
Mm.
was bright. So people just kind of, Frank, boys will be boys kind of thing. I think there's a lot of neurodiversity things that are more difficult as girls as well. I mean, that's my understanding of it. Like, my sister's similar neurodiversity to me, my twin sister, and she felt, expressions of quirkiness would garner much more disgust. than they would from me. And I think there definitely is a gender thing there. People kind of expect guys to be quirky and out there and eccentric, and there's kind of there's a whole realm of charm there. But I mean, I'm not a sociologist. I can't speak to this entirely. It's just my sense of things. But for girls,
Yeah.
there's maybe a more constrained permission of kind of,
Expectation, yeah.
yeah. So I think that's another reason it was easier for me. But regardless, I mean, of the difference between us, I mean, you still carried that discomfort of it, right, throughout. I think there are people who, I mean, again, I'm just speculating. I only live in my own mind,
Yeah.
but my sense is that there are people who barely even have an awareness that they're uncomfortable with the life they're living. They're not happy with who they are. They might come to believe that the social conventions they've learned to operate on are who they are. You know,
Yeah. And are they happy with it?
who knows? Yeah, and maybe they are, and maybe that's fine. Leave them alone. Let them be.
Because like
Who knows?
I know some people, I mean, I talk to people a lot about these things and I drive people crazy with it, but some people are like, I don't want to do that work, Brandy. Like, I don't want to think that way. I don't want to care about that stuff. I just want to do what I've been doing and I'm fine. And that's what I want. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
know,
Same.
they know there's better. They know there's more and they don't want to do the work. And that's their right, right? Like, they're an adult, they
Yeah,
get to choose. And if this is what they want to choose, then I have to respect that. Well, I feel
yeah,
like I have to respect it.
yeah. Just because it's been, we can't assume. We have this habit of assuming that what's important to us should be important to everyone else, and um,
It's not.
it's not.
That's why
It's
we're all
not.
together in Mindform. That's what, or otherwise we
Yeah,
would all
yeah.
be scattered out all over the world separately, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. We got to find our place and our people who are interested and passionate about that. But it's a total waste of mental energy to be outraged at the world. Look, doing this, being interested in this really had a huge impact on me, so you all need to do it as well. It's like, well, maybe not, maybe they
If
don't.
I want to be happy and if I want to get to the end of my life and be proud of who I am and all that, then I think that other people probably want that too, and then they have to decide how to do it, and they have to decide what that's going to look like and feel like for them, and yeah, I that's been a hard lesson to learn, but definitely had to learn it because people people want what they want, and that they should.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, there's value in hearing the need, hearing the hidden need, hearing the hidden want behind what people think they want or express that they want, but there is not value in demanding that people change what they want. You can support, you can be a mirror to people. Oh, are you saying this? I get a sense that you need this, but it's the difference between being a mirror and coming in with a chisel and carving them up. Just because we're approaching the end of the hour, I just want to give Ryan and Vin, who I see are in the chat, an opportunity if they have any questions they want to ask before we go. I I've not fully been keeping up with the chat, but I'm just scrolling through. I noticed most of the chat has been a discussion about fight clubs. Mindform needs to become a very violent fight club.
We're mentally
folks.
violent.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We need
Just
more
kidding.
of Mufacral's defiance. Okay, it seems like we don't have any questions, so I might wrap us up. And if you're happy to do that, I'll ask you one more question, Brandy.
Go for it.
But yeah, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I feel like it's been really handy for me, like crystallizing the that interplay between like or yeah, just like authenticity um, and effort and adjusting. Like how do we create and contain spaces where we can be ourselves? How do we create and contain spaces where we're faking? Like I don't know. I just that picture's really filled out for me. So that was fun, kind of working on that with you. Um, and yeah, what I suppose my question to you is in relation to these themes of authenticity, of being different, of trying to create connection for your real self whilst coping in the world. What is like a key tool or maybe a key principle that you would like to leave me and the listeners with? Something that that you think needs to be heard in relation to this? That's my last question for you.
To all the things we've talked about today, I think in order to really do, this is just my opinion, just for myself. No, I'm not giving advice or telling anybody how they need to be. I have to have a really strong base within myself so that I am meeting as many of my needs as possible, and so that I can ask to get them met, because the world is not going to adjust to me. So if I want to be authentic, I have to find the right people, places, experiences, and then I have to do the work on myself to take care of myself the best that I can so I can keep showing up. And all of that really comes down to this self-love concept that I've been working with, and that's I may not have anybody else agree with me or accept me, but I have to be able to do that for myself because I'm here. And if I want to live the life I want to have and not have regrets at the end, I have to have my own respect, my own love, my own care. And this really goes back to like Matthew Hussey's. I posted it in the forum. Matthew Hussey was talking to Drew Barrymore, and he's talking about we're all given ourselves. We're all given a human, and that is self-love. It's self-love as an approach of taking care of the body, the mind, the heart, and all of that. And in order to be authentic, I'm starting to see that I really need that strong self-love base, even more so than I thought, even more so than I have. I need it to even get stronger.
Wow, awesome! Thank you, Brandy. I think that idea, that principle will apply to a lot of other people as well. But yeah, thank you so much again for an interesting dialogue, Brandy, and I really appreciate your vulnerability. I feel like we really managed to connect on a human level here, even though we were talking about really abstract ideas. I appreciate, and I was keen learning a little bit more about your story, about who you are, and so yeah, there's heaps more that could be said. We could definitely go into these topics a bit more. In a couple of weeks, I'll post this recording to Mindform, and members can comment, or we can continue the conversation on there as much as we want. But for now, we're done on the call here. So thank you so much, Brandy, for coming on.
Have a good day.
Thanks for talking to me. Yeah, you have a great afternoon or whatever time it is over there. It's 10 a.m. here. But anyway, cheers, Brandy.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Mindform podcast. I'm Ryan A. Bush, founder and author of Designing the Mind and creator of Mindform. Mindform is an exclusive community and training platform for sculpting your psychological software. Members get access to a group of like-minded psychotechs, including all of our guests on this podcast, gamified growth tools, events and retreats, and a collection of transformative programs for mental health and self-mastery. You can learn more and apply to join at mindform.io/podcast. I hope to see you inside.